Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another Books Weekly. For those of you who might be new to the channel, Books Weekly is my Sunday video in which I discuss books that I've either finished from a previous week or read last week or started last week. And the first book is the book that I finished from previous week, a non-fiction book by Simone de Beauvoir, The Ethics of Ambiguity. As I told you in my last Books Weekly, this is the Dutch edition, Pleidooi voor een moraal der dubbelzinnigheid. It's a non-fiction book, classic in the existentialist philosophy. Well, what can I say? It's not her best book. I mean, if you're interested in existentialism and in the philosophy of Simone de Beauvoir and Sartre and Camus, this is a must-read. But it was published in 1944, and it's very dense, very concise, and a lot of the argument deals with a debate about existentialism that we just not aware of anymore. So Simone de Beauvoir spends a lot of time discussing all kinds of arguments that were prevalent at the time in the mid-40s and that were brought up against existentialism and the critique that was put to existentialism. So the actual ethics part is quite small, so to say, and the readability, like I said, I don't think it's one of her best works with what readability is concerned. But still, if you're interested, like I said, in her philosophy and in existentialism as in general, then you might pick this up. I wouldn't recommend, by the way, the Dutch translation. Not that there might be any Dutch viewers out there, but I think the Dutch translation makes it even harder to read. So I would probably try the English one. I read the English one a couple of years ago, and I thought it was better than the Dutch one. Anyway, so this was my first read, the book that I finished from last week. And the next book I read last week I came across by chance by watching BookTube. That's one of the many perks, I think, of BookTube, that you come across books that you probably would have otherwise missed. And that book is Louise O'Neill, Asking for It. I saw a review of it over at Vanessa's channel, which is a fantastic channel. If you are not subscribed, you should. I will leave a link, of course, down below. Louise O'Neill is an Irish writer in her early 30s. She published a previous novel, YA. I haven't read it, but it's labeled YA. But Louise O'Neill's work always has a strong feminist aspect to it. And in Asking for It, which was published in 2015, we follow Emma O'Donovan, a beautiful high school girl, 17, later in the book turning 18, and we meet her in the beginning, meet her friends, we see the jealousies and the relationship between the friends, and then something horrible happens on a date, and Emma is date raped, and a video of what happens is put up on Facebook. And the main part of the book is how Emma herself, but also her family and her friends and the perpetrators deal with the incident. I say that there are different people who they deal with it, but the whole book is written from Emma's perspective. So it's certainly an important topic, and I don't think there are many fiction books out there dealing with that topic, but that also means it's probably not a book for everyone because it's rather grim. It's well written and it's fast paced, and I read it in one sitting in one afternoon, but the story is very grim. What I especially liked about it is how Louise O'Neill was able to very subtly set the grounds for the story by giving us an insight in not only how those young girls view themselves, but also mainly how they view themselves in relation to men. And as I understood, Louise O'Neill did research for the book, although it's fiction. She interviewed rape victims, teenage girls who were raped or date raped. So it definitely has this very yeah, precise and quality to it that is fiction that is based on true events, so to say. But like I said, it's probably not a book for everyone. But if you are interested in the subject and want to read about it and want to think about it, then I can certainly recommend Louise O'Neill's Asking for It. The next book I want to talk to you about is a book that has been making the rounds on BookTube for quite some time now, and that is Ayobami Adebayo's Stay With Me. The book is on the Bailey's Prize shortlist, and if you're interested in the Bailey's Prize, I will leave a link to their website down below, and also a link to another booktuber, Jennifer, over at Insert Literary Pun here, who did a review of all the long-listed books, and they are just fantastic. I'm not sure whether I can add anything to it anyway. So Adebayo is a Nigerian writer who writes in English, and Stay With Me is her debut novel, published at the beginning of this year. Stay With Me is set in Nigeria, and it's about a couple, Akin and Yejide, who have been married for 5 years and don't have any children. Now, the premise of the book is that the family from both sides that put a lot of pressure on them, because obviously in the culture they live in and the society they live in, having children is very important, not only for the woman but also for the man. So because of the pressure, Akin, the man, decides to take a second wife. And we follow the story of what happens after that, told from both perspectives, so the wife and the man, jumping back and forth from 2008, which is now for the novel, and back to the late 1980s when the events happen, so the taking of the second wife and everything that transpires from there. A lot of people really love that book, and I can agree with them to a certain extent. I think the writing is really well done. I especially liked the way it gave insight to me, at least, as somebody who doesn't know the first thing about Nigerian society or the specific culture she's talking about. So that part I thought was very well done. But I ended up giving it 3 stars, I think. So it's a good book, certainly for a debut novel, and I'm very interested to see what Adebayo does next, and I want to read whatever she publishes next. But I had two main issues with the book. The first one was that although, like I said, the point of view switches between husband and wife, I thought they were indistinguishable. The voices of the two were indistinguishable for me. So I had to actually pay attention at the beginning of a new chapter of a paragraph to understand whose perspective we are in now. So that was one issue. And the other issue was that the plot has at least 3 or 4 plot twists in which we all of a sudden should be caught up by surprise and learn something that explains what happens. And I thought, especially the main plot twist, the reason why there are no children in the marriage, was, for me at least, it was quite clear after, 30, 40, 50 pages. So I was not too taken by that. But then again, like I said, it's a debut novel, and I think it's certainly worth recommending, and the writing is good, and the story is interesting, and you learn something about a culture you might not know anything about. So I don't want to sound harsh because of the criticism, but it's not, for me at least, it was not a perfect book for those 2 reasons. The point of views, which didn't really work for me, and the plot, which I thought was too predictable. And the last book I want to mention is the book that I started 2 days ago on Friday, and it's Lily Tuck, The Double Life of Liliane. I don't know whether you can see the title. Yeah, it's a bit white cover, but I think you can see it. Anyway, Lily Tuck is an American novelist born in Paris. She was born in 1938, and she has published many books and received many awards, and I've never read any of her work. Shame on me. And I saw this last week in a bookstore, and I thought it sounded interesting, so I picked it up. It's fictionalized memoir. So it tells us the story of Liliane as a child born to a German movie producer who lived in Italy, and she is a shy child. I'm about, I don't know, 24 pages in, and so far I like it, but yeah, it's too it's too early to tell. So I will report back, of course, in my next Books Weekly. So those were the books for this week's Books Weekly. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments whether you read any of the books, and especially with Lily Tuck, I would be interested if you read any of her books and could recommend any of her novels to me, and, you know, talk to me about any other books as always. And I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.